Now we're going to get into the canvas stretching portion of the manufacturing of our fine arts canvas. These are the ingredients you're going to need. You're going to need some canvas, a A-clamp to kind of secure the canvas to the other side, a stretcher, a staple gun, and some staplers. And I like to get a nice heavy canvas for my paintings, and then of course the next stage after this is applying the gesso. Okay, we're going to get started. Just going to open up my canvas. Okay, what you want to do is take your frame that you just sanded and put it quarter round side down on the canvas. Okay. Okay. Now what I like to have is about a foot, or maybe not a foot, but somewhere near 12 inches on each side of my canvas. To get started, it's very simple. You just get everything framed up and squared off. You grab your canvas and you start applying some staples. Okay, and to start off with, I'm going to apply staples to the back. I don't like to apply any staples to the side. And I go about 1 inch from the side. Sometimes, well, this is only 2x, so 1 inch to a 1/2 inch. And I'm just going to apply 2 staples just like that. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out the center of the canvas because I want to stretch it. And so what I'm going to do is go to, and this is what, you can do this on the floor, but this is when you really want to have a nice tabletop. But if you don't have a tabletop, surely you can do this from the floor as well. Now, this has this beveled edge here, and this one is great for having, for when you have a big frame like this. What I do is I double this over a bit, and then what I do is I want to stretch this nice and tight. And I usually like to see it move about anywhere between 1/4 inch and a 1/2 inch. And that way I know I'm getting a nice, good stretch. And I'll apply 2 from there. Okay? Then what I'm going to do, once I apply those 2, I'm going to the short end. And what I'm doing is looking down into my first pull when I pull the other way. And what I want to do is work out any wrinkles that I'm finding down there that may be in that. And I'm looking directly across to the center. And then once I pull that about 1 inch or so, I'm going to apply my staples. Now, one thing about this particular piece here is that this screw can come out. So I think it's a little bit of a bad design. I can see that screw getting lost somewhere. Then you got to go find a specialty bent spring in there. Get lost. Again, I'm going to tuck it over. And whether you're left-handed or right-handed, you know you got to come up with a system here. But again, I want to pull this thing, and I'm looking at the center. I want to pull this thing at least 1/2 inch to 1 inch. Okay, and then I'm going to tack it down that 1/2 inch or so pull with some staples. Now I've started it. So what you want to do is work your way to the corners, going to opposite sides. Again, I usually would go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And the same thing, I'll go there, 1, 2, 1 on each side until I'm at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and pull just one more, give you an idea, then I'm going to finish off camera because it can get a little monotonous after this. Okay. Okay, for example, I'll go here, grab this guy here, and I'm going to pull about 1/2 inch or so. Of course, I'm in the frame a bit, so that may not be helping. Okay, and bam. And one more about 1 inch or so from that. There. Okay, now what I'm going to do is go to the other side with the kind of the canvas hemmed a bit. Put it about 1/4 inch, as much close to a 1/2 inch as I can get. Apply my staple. Okay, and then over to this side. And again, that spring, you can see how easily it comes out. It's a little bit frustrating. Now what you can do is once you get this started, you can pick the frame up. Double my canvas over so I can get a nice grip. Get my staple gun. Try to get that. And this is why I like to have it smooth it a little bit. So when I go to pull, I don't rip my canvas. Again, I want to pull that real nice and taut. Tight as I can get it. Okay. And then I want to keep working my way around the canvas. You want to pull this thing as tight as you can get it. I like to put my staples in on about a 45-degree angle. I don't know if that's any better or worse. It's just something I like to do if I can. If not, have a way to go in there is how they go in there. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is go to the opposite side. Do the same thing. I'm going to bind this guy up a little bit so I don't rip the canvas. Get that 1/4 inch plus to a 1/2 inch of stretch. And then I'm going to stretch. Then I'm going to go to the opposite side and do the same thing. Okay. Okay. What I'm going to do is fold the canvas over so I don't rip it with my pliers. I'm going to get that a 1/4 inch plus a stretch if I can. Now apply my staple on a 45-degree angle. There we go. Then what I'm going to do is go to the opposite side of where I just pulled. Again, I want to make sure this is pulled this way before I start stretching it. Generally, once you stretch it, it kind of stays sort of where you initially stretch it to. Again, about a 45-degree angle. 2 staples. Bam. Also, you can just nice, good, solid piece. You can tack that in, okay? Next, what we do is go to the opposite corner, because you can see what we're doing. We're pulling out as we go, creating kind of like a diamond effect in the center of the canvas. Again, I double it up. I make sure this is pulled out, and I want to get that distance of stretch. Okay, and about, like I say, 1.5 inches to 1 inch distance. 45-degree angle. Go to the other side and do the same thing. Again, pulling this way, then coming in and getting that extra stretch out of it. Okay. All right. And then what I'll do is I'll just keep working to the corners as much as I can. Okay. Flip it over. Okay. Flip it over. Pull it to the corner so it's nice and smooth. Try to get my 1/4 inch stretch. Once I think I got it, add 2 staples. Okay, go to the opposite side. Do the same thing. You can make speed if you can learn how to keep the tools in your hand as you do this and just work through. Okay. Okay. I'm going to bind my canvas up. I mean, kind of roll it up a little bit. Kind of get it close to where I have to stretch it. Again, I go to it at last, put the left side of my stretcher here, my canvas stretcher tool, right where that other staple is. I'll pull it, make sure I get more than 1/4 of an inch stretch out. And also looking at my, and if you get a little bit more than parallel because you get more stretch, that's fine too. Because again, it's gonna be a nice coat of gesso there. And depending on if you want to show the grain or not, and you want the grain to be absolutely parallel, some people when they paint, they really like to show their grain. Others don't like to show the grain. They want it just a smooth. If you're doing portraiture, you're gonna apply maybe several coats of gesso. When you get to that stage, then you're going to sand that with some fine sandpaper. Apply another coat of gesso, sand, and various other kind of paints and treatments that you can place on that canvas to get the type of surface that you prefer to paint on. I like the canvas texture myself. I really like it, so I tend to want to go for that. Again, what I'm doing is I'm looking to see, 45-degree angle, because this is a shorter than this. So what I'm going to do is kind of just go a little bit more on this length than I do on the others, just to make sure I get that really nice, consistent stretch out of the canvas. And that's what you want. You can generally, if you do this right, this step right, you get a much tighter canvas than you can ever buy. This is really up to the individual artist to get it. There's no reason that you can't get the canvas really, really tight and have a really nice tight surface to work on. It's really in your hands. Okay, I'm gonna flip it to the other side. Do the same thing. I'm looking at my 45-degree angle. It seems like I made more progress on this side, so I'm only gonna do one step here, then I'm gonna go to the other dimension. Actually, this one looks pretty good. I think that looks pretty good. This side is a little less dense, so I'm gonna stick on this side for one more distance. Maybe somehow I missed that in all my tutorial here that I'm doing. I did not see that. Again, I'm gonna get a good 1/4 inch plus. It gets a little harder as you get to the corners to get that 1/2 inch. So like I say, but that doesn't mean it's not pulling correctly. It just means you got less material because the rest of the material is locked down with these staples. So again, the good rule of measure is just look at the thread, the weave in the canvas, and that lets you know if you're on the money with your stretch or not. And if you're going to get a really nice, good stretch. Again, to me, a good stretch is just as important as the actual painting itself. Because if you got a good canvas to paint on, well, you want good canvas, good paint, and good brushes. It's a combination there. And good media. Good canvas, good paint, good brushes, which is kind of common sense. I mean, obviously that's what you want, and that's why it's a good thing to make these yourselves, because what you're gonna get is that, see, already it's like a drum, that really nice tight canvas with this really nice smooth top, as you can see. Okay, now what we're gonna do is we're at the corners, and what we're gonna do is we're going to stretch the corner. Now you can see I have the staples about maybe 2.5 inches to 2 inches from the edge. Now, chances are people are going to see the canvas from the side, not necessarily the bottom or the top. So what I want to do is I want to have the canvas folds so that you don't see anything. It's seamless from the sides. To do that, what you do is you get this lip here, and you want to get this out of the way. So generally, we don't need the stretcher for this part because basically the canvas is almost stretched. We can hand stretch it without using the canvas pliers from here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow this piece to kind of come down, And I'm gonna go all the way out, and that's why I like this masonite. I'm gonna pop that just like that so that stays nice and flush. Then what I want is I want this piece to kind of come over as well. So I'll kind of pop that. Now, what I do is I just fold mine. I don't do any cuts because I don't like to mess with the integrity of my canvas. I like to keep my canvas kind of like one piece, just in case it has to come off the stretcher, it doesn't look all weirded up for later. So what I do is and it's okay if you have to pull a staple out, something doesn't work out. Again, it's just in masonite. And then you could also trim this a little bit more. Of course, I like to have a little extra so I can roll it up so I don't rip anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold this dude. I'm just going to pull these out of the masonite. You can just easily pull that out with your hands. I'm going to tuck this under like this. Then also I'm going to pull this piece up so it's kind of out of the way, and it's use my fingers and kind of tuck this. And it's a little bit of playing around with the fabric a little bit until it's perfect. And sometimes if you have a piece of you have a staple that's gone too far and it's kind of messing with the way you want to do this, you may want to pull it loose. But in this case, I think I can get it nice and flush in there without having to pull anything loose. And then I'm going to pull it down nice and tight with my hand. Again, if it's kind of, I don't want that bowing out, so if it's doing that, you just kind of fold it. You just kind of go back and you lead your bowl all the way back up to the corner. Pull it down nice and taut. And then that way you got a nice seam there. Then this needs to go into the wood, this staple here, so it's nice and good. So pop that staple just right there. Bam, I got a nice staple. Then what I want to do is pull this piece in up the top. Then I want to put a nice staple here too. I'm just going to pull it just a little bit more. Again, that's why I like to allow myself a little bit of grip on. And pop this staple in just right there. Okay, once I get that corner done, I just get my hammer, tap it in there, really nice, and now I have a nice corner. Now what you can do later is go in with your scissor and just kind of trim that back just a bit. That is a bit excessive. Sometimes you go the whole foot, a little bit more than 8 inches, a little much, but like I said, I like it because sometimes you need to pull that bad boy. So again, for this corner here, I'm going to switch to a corner where we can get on screen here, which is this corner here. Okay, this was a little bit bumpy to the touch, so I'm just going to go back in here one more again. Again, it's just a little tuck kind of thing, very, very subtle. Again, you can keep tucking, making sure that you got a nice, because that's the business side of the canvas, making sure you got a nice edge. And then once you get it, you get your stapler, wherever you might have put it. Again, pull it, get the stapler, and it, bam, drive right home there. There we go. Okay, get my hammer, tap these guys nice and flush. Any loose ends that might, like this string here, you could just pull that out. Pull it out. And there you are, with a really nice canvasy canvas. And just to keep the ends kind of flat down in the corner, you know, we could do as a finishing touch. You can just take your hand and just kind of spread it down. Get it down nice and taut. And just kind of there. Just one nice little tacky nail. And I try to get a little piece of wood in there along with the masonite. When I get that, go to the other corner, do the same thing. Kind of smooth it down some, get it so it's workable. Find where the wood is. And two here, not one. I don't know if I hit the wood that well. Okay, same here. And of course I get a jam right there on this one. Okay, so now you can see that we have a pretty good stretched canvas. The proof is in the pudding, because if you was hit it in the middle, listen to that night drum sound. And that's what you want to hear. Remember, we have the cross here, right there. It's so tight, no chance that can hit. The next thing we're going to do is treat this for the gesso and the painting surface, the final painting surface, where we gesso the canvas and get it ready for painting.